everyone, and welcome to another reading vlog. Before we proceed with this reading vlog, I would just like to point out that I'm pretty sure this camera angle is doing nothing good for me, but it's all that I have to work with right now, so it is what it is. For this reading vlog, I thought I would do a dedicated video while I read Midnight Sun by Stephenie Meyer. Finally, I'm reading this book. This is the semi-new, although I'm always late to the game with new releases, but this is the new Twilight book that is told from Edward's perspective. This was like the highly awaited new book by Stephenie Meyer that turns out to just be the same story for the literal third time, but we'll get into that. So before I talk about my thoughts on this book, I'm only 70 pages into it. It's currently, I should probably tell you like the date and stuff like that, currently November 8th, and it's nearly 7 in the evening. This is one of my days off, so I thought I would have read a lot more today, but I actually ended up going a little bit of Christmas shopping earlier today with my mother, so that is why I didn't get as much reading done as I wanted to. But like I said, before we get into my thoughts on this book so far, I thought I would tell you a little like history, or like my history with the Twilight series, so that you can get kind of an idea of how I went into reading Midnight Sun. So I probably read Twilight for the first time when I was like 13 years old, like 12, 13, around that age, and I'm like 99% sure that I think I saw all of the movies first, because when I was like 13, all of the movies had just come out at that point. I think Breaking Dawn had just come out around that time. So I think I'd seen all the movies first, and then I read the books, and I loved the books, I loved the movies. It was a great time. I was very into Edward and that whole fandom. I loved it. Then in 2016, I believe, is around the time when Life and Death was released, which was Twilight, but a gender-bent version. So I think Bella was called Beau, and Edward was called, like, Edith or something like that, and like it was a whole thing. And so I read that book and I absolutely hated it. Like, I think I probably gave it like 3 stars or something on Goodreads, but I pretty much hated that book. I didn't think it was good or necessary at all. Around the same time, I also tried to reread Twilight for the first time, and I think I got about 50 or so pages into it, and I just wasn't into it like I was the first time that I read it. So I ended up putting it down, and I don't even think I ever mentioned on my channel that I tried to read it again because I was so disappointed that I didn't like it as much the second time around. When I heard that she was writing a new Twilight book, I got kind of excited because, you know, I did really enjoy it the first time that I read it, and I have seen the movies umpteen times, and I do enjoy them despite them being a little bit cheesy, but I do enjoy the films, so I was kind of excited. Then when I found out that it was just Twilight again from Edward's perspective, then my expectations started to die a little bit. And I should also point out that in between that time, I read The Chemist by Stephenie Meyer, which is her like adult thriller, and I absolutely hated that book also. Like, even more than Life and Death, I did not enjoy that book, and I don't know why, but it was just so gruelingly boring. So I basically went into this book with no expectations, or honestly kind of expecting to hate it. And like I said, I am on page 72. I'm up to chapter 4, and I'm kind of really enjoying it. I'm almost hoping that when I tried to reread Twilight back in 2016, that maybe it just wasn't a good time for me, and that's why I wasn't into it, because basically as soon as I started reading this book, like, all the love that I had for this fandom and these books and these movies and these characters just came flooding back. Like, I was just giddy with excitement. It sounds stupid, but it's true, as soon as I started reading this book, and I'm honestly a little bit embarrassed. But I think one of the things is, besides the like nostalgia of it, I actually find it extremely fascinating reading from Edward's perspective, because the element of him being able to read minds is extremely interesting. It's a little strange at times, because sometimes I don't understand why he'll be talking with one of the other Cullens, like Carlisle or Alice or something like that, and sometimes they'll just think it in their head, and then sometimes they'll talk out loud, and like, I wish they would just stick to one way that they're doing it, but they'll literally jump back and forth within one conversation where they're either just talking in their head or they're talking out loud, and I'm like, it's odd and it's pulling me out of the story. But I still find that really interesting, and his kind of like struggle with having that power, because he even talks about how like he can never give his family any privacy, like he tries to, but it's difficult. So that element is all really interesting. I also feel like I'm just learning more about the Cullens in general. Like, I don't super remember the books because, like I said, I read them like 7 years ago or something like that, and I don't think the movies really go into the history of like how the Cullens met and stuff like that. I think the books do, but like I said, I don't really remember them. So I feel like I'm going to learn a lot more about the Cullens through this book. Another thing that I found really interesting, which I should probably preface this by saying that there will be spoilers for this book / Twilight, so if you haven't read or watched Twilight or this book, then maybe don't watch this video, but I am going to talk spoilers. So something else that I find really interesting about this was, and I don't think they ever mentioned it in the movie, maybe they mentioned it in the book, but I don't remember, but Edward says in here that he can't really hear Charlie's thoughts either. Like, he can't hear Bella's at all, but he can like barely make out Charlie's thoughts. He can only kind of hear the tone of Charlie's thoughts. So I thought that that was really interesting. And then the chapter, what I'm up to right now, I just reached chapter 4, so it's right after he saves her from getting hit by the car, and she's in the hospital and Carlisle is there. And a thought crossed my mind, because when they're doing the little lab thing I've never done that stuff, but even though I went to high school, never done that stuff with the microscopes. But she touches his hand, and she realizes that his hand is super cold. But then when she's in the hospital, Carlisle touches her head, and I'm wondering how do people not realize that, like, Carlisle is also really cold, but people would notice it if they, like, touched Edward. So that's a little weird. So right now I'm enjoying it, but it's still pretty early on in the book, so I will probably just get back to reading tonight and update you again in the morning. Hi guys, so it is now the 10th of November. Sorry I didn't film at all yesterday. I just had like the craziest day at work yesterday. It was just like a lot happening, so when I got home I basically just conked out and I barely read at all, so I figured there was really no point in updating you. But today was my day off, so I was able to get a bit of reading done, and I actually just filmed my TBR video for the Nightmare Before Christmas readathon that I'm hosting. So I thought while I had the camera out I would just film a quick update before editing that video. So I'm up to page 176 in Midnight Sun, and I actually stopped in between a chapter, which I never like to do, but I was home alone at that point, so I knew this was my only time that I'd be able to film today, so I put the book down in the middle of a chapter, which was very painful for me to do. But I'm at the point in the book where they're in Port Angeles, anyways, and he saves her from the creepy dudes, and then he's like freaking out in the car because he really wants to go back and kill them. And frankly, I'm still really enjoying this book, which I hate that I feel like I have to say that I'm embarrassed that I'm liking it, because I don't think anyone should ever feel embarrassed about liking a book, but I just know that like so many people didn't like this book or just didn't like Twilight in general, and I feel like at this point Twilight has become like a joke. And like, yeah, it definitely had its flaws. I'm sure the writing and everything like that, it was kind of cheesy and not very good, but I still hate that it's turned into the kind of joke that it is. So yeah, I'm really enjoying this, and even though, like I said yesterday, or the day before, whenever, the last time I talked to you, I know I said that I don't super remember Twilight at all, so frankly I don't really remember the writing, but I do feel like she definitely improved in her writing, because I genuinely, like, one of my favorite things about Midnight Sun is the writing. Like, I think the writing's actually really good, and the characters in this book, I feel like they feel so much more like people, like humans, so to speak, even though they're vampires. I wish I didn't have to just explain that to you. I should have just left it alone, but
I just feel like they feel so much more real in this book, and I think that's because they're written a lot better. I also really like, because Edward is able to read everybody's minds, I feel like we get so much of a better look into the Cullen family, and we get to understand them more, because we're hearing the thoughts in their head also, so we can just, like, understand everybody's feelings a lot better. And another thing that I find quite interesting is that even though this is the exact same as Twilight, and like all of Bella and Edward's interactions and their dialogue is exactly the same as Twilight, for some reason Bella feels like a completely different character in this book, and I think that's because in Twilight we're reading from her perspective and we're getting her like inner thoughts about herself, and even though in a lot of these interactions she's actually quite sassy in the things that she says, but I think because in Twilight she's kind of down on herself and she doesn't seem the most confident in her head, then that's the same way that we view her character, because that's how she feels about herself. Whereas reading from this perspective, she seems so much more like feisty and confident in this because Edward thinks so highly of her. So it's just quite an interesting thing to think about, how like you can view somebody some way, but then if you just look at things from a different perspective, that person can seem completely different. So I just thought that that was really interesting. Yeah, I haven't gotten very far in this book despite really enjoying it and feeling like the writing flows really well for me. For some reason, I'll notice that I'll have been reading for like 20 minutes, but I'll only have gotten through like 15 or 20 pages, which is pretty slow for me, so I don't know why that is. And I do feel like if this book has one downfall, because as of right now, as you can see, I'm really enjoying it, so if the book just keeps going as it's going, I think it's going to be a pretty decent read, but I do feel like the one thing that I can see this book going wrong in is the fact that it's just too long. Like, it's over 600 pages, and the only negative thing I have to say is that it's getting a little bit repetitive with, like, Edward's inner monologue, because he's just, like, in constant combat with himself. Like, he's just like, he wants to kill her, but then he wants to protect her, but he doesn't want her to become a vampire, but then also that would, like, solve all of his problems, because he could protect her and not kill her if she was a vampire, but then it's just, like, all this stuff. And he says it just so many times. So it's getting a little bit repetitive, and so I can just see that, and just the fact that this book is long just being a problem. It's kind of like the Hunger Games prequel, where that book was just way too long for its own good. So I do hope that this book sticks with how it's going, because so far it's going pretty good, at least for me. I know that's kind of an unpopular opinion, but I can see that being the one thing where this book goes a little awry. Yeah, that's basically all for now. I'll probably update you again when I get through a bigger chunk of this book and I have more thoughts to say, because frankly I don't have a lot to say right now besides everything that I just said, which honestly was kind of a lot. But yeah, now I'm going to edit my TBR video. I also wanted to share, because I am totally in the festive mood now. Like, as soon as January 1st hits, I'm like, Halloween across the table. Then as soon as November 1st hits, it's just like Christmas. So I'm definitely in the Christmas spirit, if you couldn't tell. So we went to CVS today because I had to buy some makeup. Somehow I completely ran out of foundation. I was like, I gotta go to the store today, otherwise I'm gonna go naked-faced to work tomorrow. So I went to CVS and I found M&Ms that are sugar cookie flavored, so they're like sugar cookies in the middle and then they're covered in white chocolate, and these are actually really good. They're very sweet, which is kind of shocking to be something that I like, because I don't usually like super sweet things like this, but I actually really like them, so I can see this becoming like something that I am just gonna be eating all day long. So yeah, just thought I would share that with you in case you want some holiday cheer in your life also. But yeah, like I said, I should probably stop talking and go edit my video, and I will update you again another time. Hi guys, so it is now the next night. I didn't read a whole lot last night because I actually just ended up having a really festive night with my mom. We watched both of the Prep and Landing short movies, which are some of my favorite films to watch during the holidays, and while we were watching, we put together like a little Halloween craft that we were supposed to do during Halloween and never got around to it, so better late than never, I guess. And then today I had to go to work. Luckily, I got out a little bit early today, so I'm only on page 212 of Midnight Sun. Once again, I stopped in the middle of a chapter because I was reading on my way to work, and then we got to work, so I had to go. But we're up to the part where it has been confirmed to Bella that he is a vampire when they're in the car driving back from Port Angeles. So that's what I'm up to in here. Still enjoying it, frankly, but today I did quite a bit of Christmas shopping, so I thought we'd do a little haul, even though my battery is flashing, so I have to make this snappy. Did I say Christmas shopping? Like, also, I bought things for myself, which is basically what I'm going to show you, because I can't show you the presents I bought people, because they might see this. So, I went to Box Lunch, and I found these little sticky notes. They're like sticky note tabs, and they look like cacti, but they're in the shape of the different Mickey Mouse characters, so love that. And all of their clearance was buy one, get one half, so I also got this keychain from Up, which says Visit Paradise Falls, a land lost in time. Kind of looks like a little postcard. And I just bought a crap ton of Christmas stuff from Hallmark, so I got some Mickey Mouse Christmas cards. I bought something for my mom, which I can't show you because she might see this. Some Mickey Mouse Christmas stickers. I bought some Christmas cards. Bought some gloves for myself, because why not? Bought the child, because if you follow me on Instagram, you know that I am kind of obsessed with the child. Like, my Instagram stories are like 90% the child memes, 5% other memes, and then 5% reading. I also bought some nail files as some stocking stuffers, and then I just bought a ton of mini Christmas cards. I absolutely love these little mini cards that they have, so I bought some of these because I like to, well, at least last year I did like 12 gifts of Christmas for my mom, so with each gift that I gave her throughout the month, because I did it like every other day, I gave her one of these mini cards, so I bought a whole bunch of those. And then I did actually buy a couple of other gifts for other people, but like I said, I can't show them to you because I don't know who's going to be watching. But then the last thing I got from Hallmark is this set of Mickey Mouse, like, Christmas baubles. I love these so much. I actually bought another set of them because they're only, let's see, they're only $19.99 each, which is actually pretty cheap for Hallmark keepsake ornaments. So I think my tree this year is just going to be Mickey Mouse themed, because these are not super big, so they're not going to completely overwhelm my little tree that I have. Yeah, I just thought I would do that little haul. I don't know if anyone's going to be interested in seeing it, and frankly I might just cut it out of the video anyway, but that is all that I really have to update you with today, so I'll probably update you again tomorrow, because I have off from work again tomorrow, and hopefully I will get a lot of reading done in that time. So it is now the next day, and if you can hear my computer fan running in the background, that is because I just filmed and edited my announcement video for a Very Merry Readathon this year, which I am very excited about because it's going to be themed to A Christmas Carol, which is one of my favorite things. Just on top of Christmas, I love A Christmas Carol specifically, so I'm very excited for this year's round. So I just filmed the video and edited it, and I'm actually pretty happy with how it came out. Usually I'm not, because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my videos, but I actually really like it. So I'm currently exporting it to my computer, which is why my computer fan is being really loud, because it just can't handle it. As far as my reading, I had a pretty lazy day today. It is, what time is it? It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I did not wake up until 10 o'clock in the morning, even though I set my alarm for 8:30, which is very disappointing, and I don't know what kind of things turned it off in the night, but somebody turned my alarm off, and I'm very upset about it. So when I finally did wake up, I did read a little bit. I read up to page 292, so I'm a bit less than halfway through the book, and I am still enjoying it for all of the reasons that I've mentioned before. Like, I really like seeing the story from Edward's perspective. I love learning more about the Cullens. I love all of the little details. I've got hair stuck to my lip. I'm not sure if you can tell. Not coming off, which, what in the world? Now I just have lipstick all over my fingers. Oh, it's still there. Oh, I got it. It's like a fuzzy from my sweater. So now that I've scraped most of my lipstick off and possibly smeared it all over my face, and it's definitely all over my fingers now, let's continue talking about whatever it was that I was saying, which now I've completely lost my train of thought. But I really like seeing all of the little details that you don't get to see in Twilight. For instance, the creepy dude that Edward saves Bella from in Port Angeles, Carlisle goes back there and knocks the dude out, takes him to another town, and turns the guy into the police, which is just something that you never know from the original Twilight, probably because she didn't come up with it until writing this book. But I still find all of that really interesting. Also, the fact that Emmett and Edward got Angela and Ben, I think was his name, together. I thought that whole scene was really cute, and I love seeing, like, Emmett and Edward together as brothers, and, like, Edward and Alice, because you just don't get a lot of them in the books from Bella's perspective. But in this book, it's so much of their, like, sibling bond, or, like, between Esme and Edward, and I just love it so much. However, the thing that I said the other day about this book being a bit too long and kind of repetitive is becoming a little bit irritating to me. Like, I've realized that I'm almost 300 pages into this book, and we still haven't gotten to the scene where he's all a glimmer and a glow in the middle of the field. Like, I just feel like it's taking a really long time to get from point A to point B, and it's just a little long, and I'm tired of just hearing Edward's inner conflict with himself. So I'm still really enjoying it, but I definitely feel like there's probably going to be a star deducted because this book is just a little bit too long, a little too repetitive. But other than that, I am really liking it. So I am going to get back to reading while I upload my video, and I also want to try and do a little bit of journaling today. So yeah, we'll just see what happens. Hi guys, so it is now the next day, which makes it Friday the 13th. Very special day indeed. I just got home from work. It's almost 8:30 at night. I had a few places to stop on the way home, which is why it took me longer than it usually would. And I actually wasn't going to film an update today because, frankly, my thoughts haven't changed at all since the last time I updated you. I think I'm on page, let's see, 353. I don't know why. I keep stopping mid-chapter, and it's really irritating, but honestly, the chapters are kind of long, so just something I have to do. But yeah, I'm more than halfway through it at this point, but not by much. So my thoughts are still the same as before. Like, I'm really enjoying it, but also it is a little bit long, a little bit repetitive. So, but the reason I wanted to actually film an update today, even though I don't have a lot to say, is because it's Friday the 13th, and it's just a good day for me, which is funny and ironic because usually Friday the 13th is like, you know, an unlucky day, a cursed day. But for me, like, I had a really good day today, like, more than I usually would, so it was a good day. And my outfit today, as you can see, I think I filmed a clip of my outfit earlier, so hopefully I'll include that in here, but I quickly changed out of it as soon as I got home because I did not realize it was Friday the 13th until yesterday. So I would have planned better. Like, I like to dress pretty spooky for that day, but I forgot to do my laundry the other day, so it left me with some pretty limited clothing options, so I had to wear a dress today, and the outfit that I threw together, like, wasn't really spooky. It was more like mystical because I had, like, moons and suns on my shirt, but I still really liked it. However, it was a dress, and it is pretty cold outside, so as soon as I got home from work, I quickly changed into, like, my warmest pajamas and, like, pajama pants and a big sweatshirt, so I'm nice and cozy right now. So I think I'm just going to light a candle and continue reading my book because I am still really enjoying it, and it gives me, like, all of the cozy nostalgia feels, so yeah, I am liking it. Speaking of how much I'm liking it, I actually have to return it back to the library because it's a new release. They only have you hold it for like 2 weeks or something rather than 4. So because the mall I work at has a Barnes & Noble, I went by and I bought myself a copy of this book so that I can finish reading it and I can return the other one to the library because the last thing I want to be is that person. But yeah, now I have my own copy, so that's fun. And also, while I was at Barnes & Noble, I came across this table of Friends merchandise, and I picked up a frame that looks like the peephole frame that they have. So you can use it as an actual frame, or you can take the frame part out and actually just hang it on the wall like they do in the show. So I absolutely love this. I've always wanted one of these, and as soon as I move into an apartment, I'm 100% going to use it. So I'm very excited about that, and I wanted to show it to you. So that is all for now. Happy Friday the 13th. I hope your day was as good as mine was, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Hello everyone, so it is now the 18th of November, so it has been several days since the last time I have updated you. My reasoning for that is, I don't know, probably laziness. But in those several days, by the way, I just got home from work, which is why I look disheveled as usual. But in those several days, I have read up to page 480 in Midnight Sun. I have rewatched the first 3 Twilight films, and I have been trying to convince myself not to reread the original Twilight books because I know that I will probably regret it. But as far as my thoughts in this book, frankly, they're the same. I'm still enjoying it. These last few days have just kind of been so I haven't really read a lot, which is why it seems like I'm getting through it really slowly, which I always say, like, slowly reading a book doesn't always equal, like, not enjoying a book. I am still enjoying it. It is a little bit long, as I've said several times, but I do really like it. And one thing that is like coming back to me from reading this book and now rewatching the films is that in the book series, or at least in this first one, Bella is like kind of a bookworm, but they don't go into that really at all in the movies, which is kind of disappointing because I feel like I remember reading this when I was like, I don't know, 12, 13, and probably really relating to Bella for her book nerdiness. So I'm a little disappointed that they didn't, like play into that in the films. But yeah, I am enjoying my rewatch of the movies, and I am enjoying this book still. So hopefully I will finish this soon. Tomorrow is my day off of work, so I would love to be able to like wake up in the morning and have a cup of coffee and read. But alas, I actually have to wake up even earlier tomorrow than I would when I have to go to work because I have to drive an hour to get my car inspected. So I'm going to be waiting there the entire time, so I might read a lot there while I'm waiting for my car, but I'm also going with my mom, so she might want to just like talk the whole time, and she doesn't like it when I ignore her and I read my books, so I might read a lot. Or I might not read it all. We'll just have to see what happens. And as you can see, I still have the library copy because my library doesn't have like a drop box, and they're only open when I'm at work. I think they're open at like 12 to 6 now because the hours are really limited, and I usually work 11 to 7. So it's literally like I have no time to drop these things off, but luckily they're not charging for overdue books at the moment because I think they realize that their hours are kind of funny. So I haven't switched over to my copy yet, but tomorrow, because I have off, I'm hoping to make it there when they're open and actually drop this back off. So yeah, that was something I was probably useless and I didn't need to tell you, but that's how everything's been going, and yeah, I really don't have a lot to say. So I honestly will probably just update you again when I like finish this book because I really don't have a lot of thoughts. Like, we've officially reached the point in my reading vlog where I'm like, is this worth it? Probably not. But do you like my sweater? Because I thoroughly enjoy my sweater. It's the Fox and the Hound. That was such a stupid way of showing it to you, but I really like this sweater. It's very cozy and it's nice and cold out lately. So yeah, that's all, and yeah, I'll update you at some point. Hey guys, so it is now the 22nd, and of course, my heat just kicked on, but I thought it wouldn't be one of my reading vlogs if I didn't film from this angle at least once. So we're going to be closing this vlog from this angle today because I have finally finished Midnight Sun. I really dropped the ball with both vlogging and reading. Like, I don't know what happened this week, but finally I'm finished with it, and you know what? I enjoyed it. I feel like this would be a lot more interesting if I had like a burning rage for this book, which honestly, that's kind of what I went into it thinking I would have. I really thought I would hate this book, but I actually really enjoyed it. And yeah, it's been quite a while since I've read the original Twilight, but I feel like I would almost say that I liked this one just as much, if not a little bit more, but that also is probably because I just read it. But I probably give it 4 stars. I think the only things I didn't like about it, which is why I docked it a star, is because it is a little bit too long. Kind of had the same thing that Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes had. It's too long for its own good. Also, it was a little bit repetitive, I'll be honest. Sometimes he just wouldn't stop talking, like his inner monologue, he just would just keep on talking, and sometimes I would skim it a little bit during those parts, because like, it's not like I'm gonna get confused by the story, you know? So those are like the only things that I didn't like about it. As for what I loved about it, probably the nostalgia is the biggest thing. Like, even rewatching these movies has made me realize just how much I love these characters, and I guess miss these characters because it's been such a long time since I've watched any of the movies or read the books. So the nostalgia was probably the biggest thing. But I also feel like she probably did grow quite a bit as a writer. Again, can't super remember the writing from the original one, so you're gonna have to fact check me on that one, but I think her writing was actually very good in this book. Like, I enjoyed the writing immensely. I also found it extremely interesting reading from the perspective of a character who could read minds of other people. That was really cool. Also, just spending more time with the Cullens. I love the Cullens. I love Alice especially. So seeing all of that, seeing like Edward and Rosalie's relationship, and Edward and Emmett, and even Edward and not Renee. What's her name? Esme. Like, they just had such a lovely relationship that I feel like was so much more fleshed out in this book than in any of the other books or movies. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. 4 stars. Sorry if this was not the most interesting vlog ever, but it is what it is, and that is what I thought of the book. So, would I recommend this? Honestly, if you were a fan of the Twilight books, I feel like this would just be a nice add-on to read. Like, yes, it is a little bit long, but I think all of the, like, behind-the-scenes little information that you get, I thought it was nice. So, yeah, that is the end of this reading vlog. If you have read this book, let me know what you thought of it in the comments. I'd love to discuss it with you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!